So basically, if your military becomes Washington, that'll leave the.
Down to the new route.
James, can you hear us?
So that'll connect,
Okay.
you'll be able to walk the length of Washington or from American Lake Park all the way to Lakes on Sun.
Well, welcome, everybody.
Attention.
We can call this meeting to order. So we'll start with roll call
All right, Cameron Wilson,
here.
James Hairston. Up on the screen there, we've got Mark Bila,
Here.
Ken Whitco,
Here.
Ray Dodson,
Here.
Teresa King is not here, and Julie Sprout.
Here.
And Christopher Alston. I'll have to look and see if he sent me something. We have Councilmember Preston Martell here. There we go. And we have two people from police. We've got Captain Peter Johnson and Chief Smith here. And then I have not heard from Assistant Fire Chief Michael Dobbs. And we have no youth council here. Let me look online one more time, make sure I haven't missed anybody. All right, nope, that's it.
Let the record reflect there are 2 members of the police department and nobody from fire.
It's official.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from December?
I move that the minutes be accepted as distributed.
And is there a second?
Second.
Right. Any, you all agree? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
Nope.
We have a guest speaker today, Public Works Capital Projects Division Manager, Troy. Hey, Teresa, hold on.
Do you have some maps for you to look at as a ready for them?
Yes, sorry, yeah, that's.
You ready for them? As mentioned, I am Troy Kloczminski from the city of Lakewood, Capital Projects Division within the Planning and Public Works. About midway through the year, planning and public works merged, for those who don't know. We're one big happy family now. The capital projects group this year will do $34 million, which is a record year by far for us. Some of that's from just some projects kind of lagging from the federal process getting out. And some of that's just, we just have a busy year coming. So I passed along a map, and Mr. Harrison, sorry, you don't see the map online, but I do have a map there that shows where we've been here in the last year or so, where we're going this year, and then 2026, which will also be a very busy year for us. We currently have Silicon Boulevard from Weller to 87th being constructed. They're just about done with the north side, at which point they'll block to the south side. Get that segment done at about the same time, so another 3 months. And then we're gonna pave it and then wait for some traffic signals to show up. So we're excited to get that one done, as I'm sure anybody who lives or commutes around there is excited. Before, it's been 3 solid years between Elwood, Pitkins, and Silicon Boulevard, and actually the other segments of Silicon Boulevard go back before COVID. So excited to have that completed. In conjunction with that, we have 3 projects on South Tacoma Way from the north end all the way down to 96. The segment that's kind of been underway a little bit at the north end, the Water District just finished last week with their water main. Our contractor moved in this week and is going to start, I guess, did start tearing some segments of sidewalk and some trees up this week. They'll get started on the actual work in earnest here, other than making a mess next week. Start putting stuff back together with storm drains and stuff that goes underground. In addition, in about 2 weeks, we've got a project starting up from Silicon Boulevard, just south of Silicon Boulevard, from overlay, as well as a traffic signal going in at 96, or 92nd, sorry. We already have one at 96. At 92nd there. Thankfully, most of our infrastructure is already in there, so it'll be 2-3 weeks of them kind of doing a little bit of sidewalk improvements where it doesn't meet ADA. Cleaning that up, getting some of the signal stuff ready to go at 92nd, and they'll bang out the overlay during the night. You probably won't see too much of them, and then they'll be out of there. Those 2 projects will be kind of clean from the traffic perspective. And down the Tillicum neighborhood, you probably don't hear much of the Rose Road and Forest and Fern sewer we have down there going on right now. They're slugging their way through Rose Road, and start extending sewers to about 42 houses down there. Kind of a good project. Moving forward to what we have kind of coming up very shortly. Next week, we're going to advertise the Interlochen 112th and Idlewild segment to extend sidewalks from Washington Boulevard to Idlewild Elementary, where there are existing sidewalks that kind of connect up to 104th up to Hipkins, and then you can get up all the way up into Fort Silicon Park, what we constructed over the last couple of years. So we're extremely excited to bring those. They'll start work on that probably in right as school's getting out, June, late June, mid-June-ish. Hopefully get done right before school starts back up. That's the plan anyway. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to advertise Nyanza, which on this map, it doesn't really kind of show it, but it does almost touch that 112th Street segment. So we're going to construct a roundabout at the north end. Work on that kind of the same time frame, except it'll take quite a bit longer as we've got some water main, a lot of water main work that we've got to get done on that as well. When that wraps up in earnest late this fall, 112th from Bradley to Bridgeport will start up. So we do plan things that way, because during the Nyanza, a good chunk of the portion of the people who are going to be typically using Nyanza are going to use 112. That'll get done, the Nyanza will get done, and then we can kind of shift the other way. And then the last project we've got for 2024 or 2025 is Kendrick Street from 108th to 111th. As well as, I guess I forgot a sewer job, Silcox Boat down in Philadelphia. After that, in 2026, we're looking at a good chunk of work on Mount Tacoma, Military Road, 112th Street, and then we really start our work in earnest on a $33 million segment of projects that we have down in Springbrook and really the central kind of, well, I guess that 112th Street is part of the Sound Transit Lakewood Station Access Improvement Project, which we're excited about. Boy, those projects did not score very well on grants, so excited to be able to bring that to the city. Anybody have any questions, comments? Yeah.
When you say advertise it, how is that being communicated?
How does the advertising get communicated? So we advertise in the News Tribune and the DJC.
Okay.
But a good chunk of our contractors don't even subscribe to those. They pick them up on the Builders Exchange. So we post everything to a plan center named Builders Exchange, and it automatically sends out to the lion's share of the bidders. We do get a lot of bids in Lakewood compared to other
Yeah.
municipalities.
Yeah. And then you said roundabout on Nyanza
Yep,
at the light.
at the light, to replace the light at the north end. Yes,
Yes, the construction that's going on Silicon Boulevard right now, so you've got under 2024. Is that the current?
yes, that's the current one. We wanted to start that when I made this map up. The idea was to get that started, last summer.
Mhm.
But our federal process it drags so much. We put in for construction, that was ready to go in January of 2024. And we did not get approval to advertise until September, late September. That's how long this stuff takes anymore.
How long is it? What's the length of it? Do you, when you advertise it? Sure.
We go 3 weeks. We go 3 weeks and then we award it. So it went out September, like late September, third week of September. We opened in October, went to council the first week of November. And then the contractor gets its materials somewhat going, so that when he hits the ground, he's ready to physically put stuff.
Okay.
What is the dot that said, South Come Away?
That's the signal at 92nd. Got it.
For what, why there? Why isn't it showing anywhere else in the other?
Specifically, because it's a separate project. I wanted to annotate that project is its own separate project.
Oh, it's-
And so if it's within the whole corridor of the overlay that we have, and thankfully we got one contractor, which I can't reiterate enough for the traveling public. Having one contractor in there will make it look like it's smooth.
What, why not a roundabout there? It's too big.
Too big. To put a roundabout in, we really try to stay away from multi-lane roundabouts for safety purpose.
I would add that 6 lane roundabout.
Hey, Mark, there, when I first joined, we saw there was an area, and I think it was Springbrook over railroad tracks, there wasn't, sidewalk or a single body.
Yeah.
Clover Creek?
Oh, is that on here?
No.
Clover Creek will be
Clover Creek.
part of the Sound Transit project. And the reason why we haven't, we wanted to push that forward as part of Sound Transit, but a portion of the work within the railway, Sound Transit's making improvements. Their contractor, and we will connect to their improvements on each side. Their consultant will not be ready to go until 2027. So we've kind of pushed our stuff forward that we can push forward so that we can connect to their stuff. They gotta build those bridges.
Okay, 112 from gravel to Bridgeport, for sidewalks on the north side of that.
Correct.
Those aren't being torn out.
Nope. Those are not being torn out. They're the only segment of sidewalk that's not being torn out. There's some existing sidewalk, I believe, at the south side, kind of toward in front of the church there and kind of come back. That will probably need to tear out. It's not in the right spot, not in the right elevations. But we did plan ahead of this stuff. And we just
It's all,
Yeah.
Which street? Yeah, there was a number of streetlight projects.
Yeah, I do have that going on as well. So TPU, we just finished the 2022 streetlight program in 2024 for TPU. It's an interesting process. Tacoma Public Utilities, the remaining streetlights we have on wood poles that are not out there on TPU poles. And they used to put up the poles for us. We just used to pay them to put up the poles for us. About 4 or 5 years ago, they said, we're not doing that anymore. You gotta go hire a contractor and put it up yourselves. So the permit process has changed with them in the last 2 years or 3 years, to the point where we submit now, and it takes 6 or 7 months for them before they'll even start looking at it. At which point, we get told that this number of lights is on hold of your package, because a communication line has a current application or permit ahead of you on hold. They then have 6 months to clear that application. And the reason why those are being held up is TPU's got some older poles, and they're starting to say, well, we need these replaced. So anything you add to the pole, we're now going to ask you to replace the entire pole. So everybody's kind of sitting and waiting. Long story short, it's about 17 months from when we submit to when we're able to go on the last. So we have one more streetlight program left that we're trying to get through this thing, and we're going to be watching. Thankfully, we're done a map through the city, but it is an arduous process that we're trying to slug our way through.
TPU's been replacing a lot of old ones.
They've been, and to TPU's credit, they've been replacing a lot of poles, but they can kind of, I can see where they're trying to get some free poles out of utilities / cities. They stung us on a couple of them, so we're not into paying $25,000 for one, right?
I'm just curious, is there any plan to mitigate the massive problems that we get in Custer? That either,
Even Custer, it's on the tip. It's one of those things, it's gonna take a little while for us to clear the workload we have. So there's a couple things with it. Number one, getting grant funding for it, or funding for it, period. Number two, my staff is completely booked solid almost. So we're trying our best to clear what we've got. But yes, we do want to get to that.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you coming back.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Yes.
Preston, any city council comments?
Sure. So we had our council retreat, our annual get together on Saturday at council chambers. That was on this past Saturday, and we talked about the recruiting process for our new city manager. John Kaufman's retiring. He's got a couple of months left and got some big shoes to fill. He's He's been in that role for 13 years, which is the longest tenured city manager in the state. So, yeah, he's moving on, and we're going through the process of hiring a recruiter and then making sure we get good community engagement so that folks have a chance to talk about what's important to them, potentially meet the candidates, so that we have lots of input from the community, from the city leaders, city council, and also partnerships with JDL, et cetera. We are also advancing our strategy for a downtown park and talking about a community center as one of our priorities going forward. Still early in the process, but it is one of our focus points. Looking forward, farmers markets will start in June, so we're excited for that. We are going to continue with our desserts in the driveway program that we started last year. That's where each neighborhood association will have a chance to get together with city council members, and the PD will likely be there at those events, and talk about what's important to them. Parks Appreciation Day is coming up at the end of the month on the 26th. And then the last thing is more of a personal note for me. It's a thanks to Lakewood PD. I woke up last Thursday to a large bang and a screaming woman as they ran into a power pole in front of our house. We're quick to get on the scene and control the situation, calm her down. It's amazing that she was uninjured. She almost sheared off the entire pole.
Diana?
Yeah. So yeah, he's a good crew out there. Was very good. We sergeants that were there helping. So thank you. That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Dobbs is absent. Lakewood PD comments.
Absolutely. Well, I have a copy of our annual report to the city council, which the chief presented several weeks back. And do we have that online? We
I'm
do.
almost there. Let me find my share screen again.
It's a beautiful publication that Joanna did a fantastic job going over. I don't want to bore you with insider baseball. I feel like you know the basics of the department. So I won't read it back to you. But we'll buzz through, and if anybody has any specific questions or something they want to drill down on or talk about, please stop me. Does that work?
Yep, there it is.
All right, well, maybe I do have to read it to you. Just as a reminder, there are about 120 of us working out of this building we're in right now, between sworn, limited commissions, civilian. Chief Smith's with us tonight, leading our department. Otherwise, there's and then there's assistant chief and 5 captains, of which I am the captain of the patrol division. If you call 911, that's my people. If you look at some of we had some great new hires this year, and I'm just going to point out, if you recognize the name Cromus, that's because that is the son of one of our founding members who retired about 1.5 years ago, one of our sergeants. Is now happily living in Texas, but his son, who grew up in this department, is now one of our officers and is thriving, which is great. A couple other great people, but one more familiar face. One of our founding members that was our longtime canine handler and master trainer, Jim Seiler, got board retirement and came back. He works in the courts, so he didn't want to do full police work, but he missed us. So he's back helping out, and say hi to him if you stop in. Great to have him. We're also having a number of retirements. It's the nature of starting up a department 20 years ago. Well, we're aging out. I think there's about 30 of us left. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
give or take.
Yep.
All awards that were given out this year are listed here. Quick review of patrol, number of calls we have, our average response times, tickets written. Yeah. Collisions are a little bit up this year. It's one of our focuses. People got used to driving a little faster than normal during COVID. We're trying to slow that back down. Investigations, all the numbers of what they're handling, cases handled, cases closed, property crimes. The great news is, as you look across the board, I mentioned collisions. That stands out because that's the only stat that went up. Everything else is trending down. Property crimes, person crimes. It's a great thing. I take this personally. I live in the city. My kids are running around the city. I want to see these stats go down. So things are trending well. And there are more details. If you want to have access to this, are we able to also give them a link so they can look at it? If they don't?
I sent it to them, so they already have it, and then it's on our website.
traffic unit, staying busy. Animal control, also, if you didn't know, our animal control handles our city as well as Silicon and DuPont. So they, those two animal control officers are hopping, as is property, or the property room, and keep them very busy. But if you ever have a chance to go on a tour and see it, it used to be packed to the brim, and our evidence team has gotten that so organized. There's room to grow. I hope we don't have to grow it and keep adding to it, but it's nice to see some empty shelves in the back. They've gotten down packed, and that also has contributed to, we continue to go more and more digital. So all these thousands of hours of body cam footage and all of it used to be that we would have to collect the evidence, burn it into CDs, and that would all get physically filed. Well, now, if you have a need to submit evidence, whether it's paperwork, PDFs, or photos that you have, we're able to send you a link, and I can send you link after link. If 2 days later you say, oh, I actually have a bruise I'd like to be documented, I can send you a link. You can send that directly. It bypasses me, goes straight into the cloud, and gets, following evidence protocol, gets filed with the case. Pretty great time to do police work. I started with the Polaroid cameras. We had to say goodbye to Cone, one of our canine dogs, aged out for medical reasons. However, if you get a chance to meet Aries certified this last week and is now on patrol. And that's our brand new puppy with Officer Bucott. And Officer Bucott is almost complete with his master certification, master trainer. So not only is he actively working the streets, but Anthony Bucott is also training all the other and certifying the other canine teams in Pierce County. It's a pretty big deal. There's only one other master trainer, and he works for Pierce County.
I have a question on that. When I was in this Citizen Academy, was Kona's handler Bucott?
Yes.
Okay, did Kona get to stay with Bucott, or what happens when a dog retires?
There is a long-standing tradition where the city council kindly does a vote, and I believe the handler is able to purchase the retiring dog for the sum of $1. That's right. And so Kona will spend her days still doing some light training, because that's what she knows and loves, but living with his family. He's got a little son and a wife that love the dog dearly. So they're around. But their numbers, they had 36 captures between our two working teams this year and 138 deployments. They deploy countywide. Our community resource team keeps cranking away. We have recently added a new member of our behavioral health contact team, which is fantastic. We are busy. I just recently pulled the stats, and it looks like last count, we have upwards of 220 adult family homes in the city.
And I love them in Oakville.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know that number off the top of my head, but it's, I mean, you're all familiar with the long, calm discussions that we have had with the state, trying to keep that number maintained, but our behavioral health team is a crucial part of that response.
What, back up a little bit to,
Yeah.
and then the statute said 36 captures, 138 deployments. Does that mean 102 getaways or not captured, or what?
We get called, and it's up to the canine handlers to, with their knowledge of law and capability, to whether it's safe to deploy or whether the crime meets the criteria. So basically, colloquially, is the juice worth the squeeze? And they deploy, they do their best, but sometimes you never know if a suspect has a 5-minute head start or a 2-hour head start. Sometimes the deployments are tracking for evidence, so it doesn't involve a capture at all. Yeah, I know that looks like he's batting below 100, but it's more encouraging than that. A lot of times they're tracking to recover a gun that was thrown or drugs that were thrown. Let's see, behavioral health team, unmanned aircraft systems. I'm proud of this. It is the cutting edge of policing, because not only does it do the aerial coverage for major crimes the way that big cities would have a helicopter, to be able to watch, say, a SWAT operation, or you think of it being used for a hot call. We had drones in the air the entire time when we had the man shoot at us and take over a building a month and a half ago over in the industrial area close to Spanaway. But we are now utilizing the building searches, which, if you think about that, that takes the odds of a suspect or us getting in a physical altercation way down. So it has actual tangible life safety considerations. So what we have done, we have Austin Lee, who's one of our detectives in the SAU unit. And Austin is a professional pilot. He is certified to teach actual helicopter, prop plane, and jets on every level. He's an instructor. And he took that passion and really leaned into our unmanned drone program. And he realized that other departments needed his skills and expertise. So he put together a teaching program, teaches that program here where he hosts it. They pay, that money goes straight into a city fund, which we then use to buy the equipment. So it's effectively a zero cost for the department. And he is now procuring these first person. You ever seen somebody flying a drone where they have first person goggles? We now are going to issue those to every squad so that when we have a burglar in a building or somewhere where we're looking for a bad man that we don't want to shoot at us, we can send these small drones in, and they are so intuitive. I am not a drone flyer, but they put those goggles on me, handed me the controls. I sat right where Joanna is and I flew it around. I landed on the chief's desk. I was able, you weren't there, sorry, Chief. And I was able to fly around, go down the stairs, never losing signal. You have 4K video feed, which you can then put on a big screen for officers to watch. When we had that, in addition to having a drone over the scene in that aforementioned building takeover, our drone operators flew a drone into the building and landed on a rafter, and we had an inside view and audio, so it's a way to communicate. So it's tremendous possibility in this program, and Austin's found a way to fund it. We have some monsters, and those are the ones we use. They have FLIR, which is the night vision heat seek, the heat vision. And then with these ones I'm discussing now are about the little building search ones about that big.
You know, the brand or.
Well, and that's part of it, as there's some changing rules about what has to be American made, what can be made into offshores. So if it becomes a rule that we can no longer fly something like the DJIs, which are made in Asia, Austin will have to teach more classes. But I believe the ones he's currently procuring are gonna be US made. I don't know, you'll have to ask Austin, do you need him? Or I'll try to inquire if you want me to follow up.
I am interested. I'm also a licensed pilot, so, in fact, I had Officer Lee, my teaching things, I have a class that I teach. I've been licensed for a number of years. So he came and actually was a guest presenter a couple times.
Oh, great. All right.
Years ago. And then so I tried to contact him back, but then it's completely ignored.
I will make sure you put you in contact with us.
Somebody else, no big deal. But anyway, it'd be interesting to know. And just because I wouldn't mind having one myself.
Well, and he did another great move. One of the really large drones generally come from federal grants, because they are very expensive. And another agency, I won't name them and embarrass them, but said, ours is broken, we can't make it work, so if you let us send a pilot or two to your class, you can just have our drone. And Austin took it and immediately got it working, and so now we have two of these very expensive.
Well, and I will say, the picture in the middle, that is actually one of our drones. It was on the cement, so I just removed the background, but yeah, it was probably about this big. But that is actually one.
Oh, no, we have.
Yeah, but
we
that
have
was the one in the
8K.
middle, is the littler one that I took a picture of, yeah.
All right, I'll stop geeking out about drones. Retail theft program, we continue to partner with local retailers where they can file directly with the courts. Has anybody noticed an increase in the town center? I don't mean to leave you out, I keep facing this way.
No,
More to come on that. That's a program new to 2025. But it mimics what you see at Christmas around the holidays when you see just increased police presence. You'll see lights flashing, but it's just a car slowly driving around. We're making a very concerted effort to be very present and very visible and develop working relationships with the town center, just to frankly declare war on theft. We can't stop thieves, but we can stop them in liquid. So the message that's trying to be sent out is, if you're gonna steal, okay, but not here, because we're just gonna guarantee you to jail. And that started with our every year we used to do the holiday emphasis program. That kind of turned into, we started running undercover programs where we would do emphasis days approximately once a month, where we would have undercover detectives along with uniformed officers, along with our NPO units. And we will arrest 10 to 30 people a night, because we will be in contact with every store, and they know it's an emphasis night. So as soon as somebody walks in and starts concealing things, we send in undercover officers to get eyes on them. As soon as they get out, we grab them, bring them back here. We arrest people until the transport van is full, that goes and we reload it. And it's been tremendously successful and the businesses are appreciative of it. And if you're interested, that program, along with several others, was the focus of a short video that was presented in the 2004 International Association of Chiefs of Police Convention in Boston. It's a great video, 5 minutes of your time, and there's a little QR code on these if you want to look that up.
Has the car moving around over there made a difference, or have you had a chance to see the data on it?
Well, that would be for 2025. Here, and this is going to apply to pursuits, which we're going to talk about. It's a little bit hard to quantify because work begets work. So what didn't create a stat before because they were able to walk out with something, well, we're catching them. So it's going to look like increased arrest. But if you were to talk to, and feel free, want to talk to Target or Safeway or Ross and Marshalls, they'll tell you, or Rite Aid especially, these businesses are over the moon because to them it feels like the crime is way down. And instead of watching people walk out and they never even used to bother to call. Well, now in their minds, the theft is way down. But there's a lot of arrests.
So the property crime and shoplifting, there are two different buckets.
One of us, that all falls in the same.
So I don't know, where's the property crime?
No, it might be jumping down. Give me a second. All right, so there you go. 3,324 property crimes, and that is all burglary, larceny, theft, motor vehicle theft, and arson. So that's things that the investigative unit have. The investigative unit handled for property crime, property fraud. But if you look, so 3,300 out of almost 50,000 calls for service. Yes,
Not a lot of it.
I don't think we have year over year listed in this presentation. And going on to the next, we have, if you weren't aware, we could not pursue, except for some very specific serious felony crimes, for several years there. And the end result was that the criminals just learned they could, and they realized that we couldn't do anything about it. As somebody that had that happen to them on multiple occasions, it's frustrating. But the legislature changed this last year, and I think, that's the stat, but I apologize, it's so small. If you can see the mountain that looks like Mount St. Helens with the top missing, those are the eludes. So those are people that decided they didn't want to stop for us when they saw the lights come on. And as you can see, it peaked in 2022, dipped a little bit. If we can see on that stat just how high it is compared to the norm, all those years of bad guys generally stopping for us. And when they didn't, we would pursue and catch them and they'd go to jail. And then all of a sudden, Chief, correct me, was it like a 600% increase in car swing? It was a high number. It was like 200. So it was a 600 car theft. Yes. Car theft went up 600%. Vehicles fleeing from us went up 200%. It felt pretty out of control from where we were. And as you can see on the downslope of Mount St. Helens, it's coming back down. Now, that last bar there, that's our pursuits increasing, coming up to meet them. It's kind of a necessary correction to retrain the criminal element that you can't just leave them. You can't just drive away when you commit a crime anymore. We're going to stop you. And that's also, we have a new system this year. The chief brought in a company called Flock. So Flock is a camera system. What's great about Flock is it's posted at major intersections and it's a plate reader. It reads the back plate and it runs it against NCIC and WASC. So it tells us it's a stolen car. Is it a car that has a warrant associated? We're also able to enter a car with a fresh crime or if a major crime happened and we know that the suspect fled in a red sedan, we can search red sedan in the system and get a direction of travel and possibly a license plate. Fantastic because we also don't have to maintain Flock is independent. Flock, we don't maintain we're not recording video of any cars driving around the city of Lakewood. We only get the hits. And then they store it for 30 days of information, and then Flock, the national company, wipes it off. So it's something we have to maintain. Private citizens and businesses can buy into it. In other words, some of our local businesses, Lowe's, for example, has several Flock cameras, and they grant us permission to have access to that, which is a fantastic partnership. Doesn't cost us anything. They get the extra. So when they get somebody stealing from them, they're actually able to go in their Flock system and say, oh, here's the plate on that Pathfinder when they're reporting it to us. And now we have a suspect. Great. We also get notified that a stolen car or a car with a warrant associated goes to their parking lot. Great system. However, yeah,
Are those the cameras that are on the little trailer things in the parking lot?
no, those are a separate, that's a private company that offered that as a solution to places like Walgreens and Rite Aid that were getting frustrated with theft, and they have a camera system, but they're not affiliated with us, and they don't notify us of anything. So it's kind of a passive system, and also I want to say the CVS told me they were spending $18,000 renting that thing. Versus a Flock camera, it's somewhere in the ballpark between $3,000 and $3,500 a year to have one installed and doing that and providing that service.
Are we able to react to each one of those?
Do we want that?
Are we able to react to each one of those?
So officers log into a separate system, and the system notifies when there is a Flock hit, and then it'll come up and it'll say, this was seen northbound on Lakewood Drive. It's, this is a listed stolen plate. Hopefully, we're kind of on the cutting edge. So we were the first to get Flock cameras in the area. Now, Puyallup has followed suit. Monty Lake has them. People are catching on, and as the system grows, now I'm representing me here. I really hope that like Tacoma and Pierce County jump on board, and then South Sound 911, our dispatch would maybe get some skin in the game and start monitoring it for us and telling us, so officers don't have to jump between screens and try to dispatch themselves to these things. But it's been fantastic. But what I was going to say is, it's when you see the increase in pursuits, it's the equivalent of turning a black light on in a hotel room. You used to not know there was a stolen car driving down Lakewood Drive if you were on the other side of town, and all of a sudden, we got a system saying, hey, stolen car coming through town. So officers love to catch bad guys, and we're trying to prevent crime. So it means that we are more aware than ever when somebody is coming to town doing something bad.
I'm assuming from that description there that the system is not passive, that it's actually, you guys aren't out looking for it, it will actually tell you that.
If you're logged in the system and you have it set up to notify you, it gives you a distinctive ding on your laptop while the officer's driving. I think you probably can't. I don't have it set up that way because I don't want to try to check the phone and drive. Really interesting technology, brand new, cutting edge. I'm curious to see exactly what it can do when all the surrounding agencies are invested in all the, imagine if you live in an HOA and you're concerned about vehicle prowls, or your HOA could invest in one of these and share that information with the law enforcement network. It's kind of a really cool proactive thing that citizens can do. Community outreach. That handsome young man wrapping presents there, that's my son. That's every year we always do the shop with an officer, and we do the holiday meals right here in this room. We're partnering with the Clover Park School District to identify families that could use some help in the holidays. For both shopping with an officer is great because we get to take a kid usually between the ages of 6 and 12, and they just get to make the list shop for the whole family. No limits, and then we help them wrap them and take them home. So it's a great interaction, and that's all funded through the officers charity, which is just officers who designate money out of their paycheck every pay period and give to it. So it's been a great long-standing tradition. I'm proud to be a part of it. You guys know about the Citizens Academy? There's another one coming up in June. If you haven't attended and want to apply, I encourage you to do so.
Registration open.
I don't think it's open yet, but it's soon. National Night Out continues to go strong and take different forms. And in our last page, you got the shot that we took 20 years ago. I'm standing in the back with a full head of hair. Our old department, our new department. There's a picture that I'm not in.
But I mentioned you on the side.
We need to zoom
You
in.
were in, FBI?
I was, yes. Let's see, she says there's 32 of us left from the original founding members. And then if you go to the last page and the last slide, we recreated the photo now. It's kind of fun to see a lot of familiar faces, and it's also fun to see so many new faces. You know, I was gonna do a short version. I thought really long. I apologize.
Good insight beyond this. Thank you.
Yep. Lock. Look it up. They have a fantastic website that you can see what the cameras look like and get a feel for their capabilities.
And on the,
FLOCKM.
and don't forget on the QR code on the bottom of that, of the retail theft page, when you scan that video talks about Flock and shows you, so you can watch that too.
Awesome. Long ways from the list that you used to get, a turnout. Here's your list of,
Hot sheet, yeah.
The hot sheet, yeah. Probably saved lots of Kias.
Yeah, I'm glad that trend is dying down. That was out of control for a while. You know, what was really tragic was watching these kids, and we knew the kids that were doing it, they were killing themselves. It would just seem like a matter of time before we go to a call or one of them would have a serious injury because they were driving so recklessly. That was a hard season. Glad to be coming on the other side.
So, block A, is that an expense that we have in the city?
It's currently paid for through, is it 100% grant ability?
No. Actually, we're thankful to the city councils who allow us the funding to enter into the block system. We followed up with a secondary grant so that we can kind of complete out what we have in the city to combat the stolen vehicles. In 2023, we were having a major problem. Our stolen vehicles were 40% higher than the year before. At the end of this year, we showed a 67% reduction in overall stolen vehicles. And so you figure coming from 40% above to 67% below, it's a tremendous turnaround for us.
Is there still a reserve department or reserve group? No. When did that?
Well, we had a group that was very dedicated, but again, a lot of them started early in our department and they kind of aged out. And then when we tried to bring on new people, the investment of time didn't last long, or they weren't able to put the hours in that it required to stay certified and stay active. And I think the bang for our buck for investment, it just was a difficult program to maintain.
I was one of the original ones. Was reserve.
I'd say your name is tremendously familiar to me. So yeah, you and Dennis Falk and Henry joined you after he left our full time.
Yeah, actually sounded maybe the reserve sergeant. But
It's a big commitment,
it
John.
is. But I just hadn't heard much about it in these years, so. Thank you.
Okay, absent youth council, unfinished business. New business. Review of our next meeting, looks like it'll be held on June 4th.
Unfinished business, I'm sorry. We had talked about shirts.
So
And then said it was gonna go till the council.
that was brought up by council and the city manager was looking into it as possibility. We're going to do it for this group. We have to do it for all our boards and commissions. But I'm still pushing for it.
There was Chipotle. It's not quite a shirt.
Linda, you still have those?
I do, I started to get up, but then you guys were talking, so
I like that trio, Joanna, the cap, the jacket, and the shirt.
Right.
I actually walked that through early when John's performed the duties of city manager. Well, I guess I was a trail trooper. It was a typical argument under the exercise of going through the government. It had a lot of hurdles. People looked at proposed decor from all angles. Thought it was a little extreme, but custom tag.
I will let you Vanna White them.
I guess. So I think the group I was with, this is my third tour through here, I think. Every once in a while, I give somebody else in the city a chair, but the idea was, this was sort of a neutral color. It was mostly a Lakewood, tag there that was modified slightly just to give the identity. The light to be sure, and the cap. And for those that weren't around back in the dinosaur age, when I fussed about this, I got tired of trying to make my participation here useful by going out to public gatherings. Looking like Joe Schmuck who got out dinner early and trying to convince him I was a worthwhile person to share with. And everything else I do like this, I've got 3 or 4 other moments and tags, cards, stuff that says who you are. So they can run right away or they can hang out and see what you're up to. But this was tough. I would go around to all the little gatherings and try to tie. I said, I know you'll complain when you find this. What I'd like to do is find a few of these lumps before they get too big, or just show you we're interested or whatever. My thought was, again, they can run fast if they see you coming, or they may share. You can try a few ideas out of them. And the group at that time wasn't very interested. The city said they weren't interested in funding stuff. So there was, at that time, and I'm not even sure if they're still in business, there was a certain price that you probably anticipate. But I thought it was, well, I consider that a contribution that I would spend the money to do this. So the idea was more and then the other thing was, if you were there in more than Tiny Mass, Summerfest or whatever, you could kind of be, going around through the people and they might be bored and ask you a question or have something that's picked up and they didn't look for a good way to share it. So these are medium quality stuff at that time. And I know the guy that did this, the company that did this, it went out of business a little bit at the front of the COVID, but I think he came back up in a new place. He put this not very complex embroidery pattern on memory stick. That way you get back up to speed faster. I'll leave these in.
Yeah, I remember we discussed it, and we said we was interested in looking into doing that. So are we looking for a city council to fund?
It's not much use getting price estimates if you don't know if there's gonna be another one of these interesting trails in nature. Of course. Don and I were friends for years.
Yeah.
But he still had to go through some mandatory hurdles to make sure everybody felt comfortable with it.
I will say it did come in front of council with an estimate on the cost, and we voted to approve it.
Okay.
So it's just on John to implement it now as the city. So it may be on once we have our new city manager in place, but it may not. We may be able to get it faster.
If interested, I would be happy to talk to my friend John before he leaves. And you might remember the previous conversation and, like slap a ghost sign on it. But it just depends on people's interest.
Done? Are we just gonna take from? Somebody wants to?
It did work a couple of times. I also made my own business cards. Never used to be jailed. I think that right. Just sort of had my name and what I was involved in and how they could get hold of me.
New business. June 4th, and I think we had a guest speaker. Does anybody recall when we talk about old business? Our guest speaker on the 4th is gonna be parks. Does anybody remember why we were gonna have parks come and speak to us as a group?
I think it was twofold. One was, we were talking about volunteers for, the market once a month. And the other thing was, we hadn't actually had a presentation in the Parks Department for a while. And we're doing a lot of stuff in the parks, and
So you just wanted an update?
Yeah.
Okay.
wasn't, I don't think anything specific.
Did anybody have anything they wanted to bring up for new business? Um, Reports from board members and staff. Community outreach. Has anybody been going to any neighborhood association meetings?
I'm a little confused about how that's operating now. Are they supposed to be having a meeting at one location, and these people who want to attend from the different new districts, are they supposed to go to there and attend? Is that? There's two separate meetings, is that right?
Yes and no. So they're still having, in your packet, all of the neighborhood associations that are listed,
Yeah.
including some new ones. Those are also meeting at the times that are listed in locations and dates. The leadership group is a separate meeting that Chris is having with kind of like, I guess, the presidents of the neighborhood associations. They have a separate meeting where they just kind of go over how to grow their neighborhood associations, what challenges they're seeking. So it's him trying to help them grow their neighborhood associations. That's why it just says leadership.
But what I don't understand then is that we have that new map. And like District 6 is now broke up into two, so Oak Brook is kind of by itself. And the rest of the north is in another one. I don't believe that there's anybody representing that district. That's why I'm confused.
I'm gonna need some help with Pete over there,
What did I do with the map?
because I do not know what district.
Yeah, see, the way they divided it up is basically the north is now two sections, Oak Brook, and I guess it's Dower Elementary is what they're
Okay.
gonna call the other one.
Okay,
apparently.
I was saying, I don't know what I'm looking at enough.
We talked about that in December.
Yeah,
The
the way they
meeting,
do
yeah.
it now. And so, I don't know, maybe this map hasn't been quote unquote officially instituted, but I
He
live
said
in that area and I don't know of any.
he said he was working with, Oak Brook to try to get that started. It wasn't started yet.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
said that, because I live in
that's-
Oak Brook too. That's what he said at that time.
Mhm.
And actually, I think some of these other ones, the lines are different, so even some of the ones we had before are gonna be a little different.
Well, okay, so everything on this sheet is updated as to what he gave us. This is what is current and updated. The only thing that he couldn't give me yet was meeting information for Dower because they were still building.
But see how it is now, this is the old section, so like this section is now got a divide across here. And so they've all changed, so is there somebody that has officially been named as a spokesman or a president for each one?
Hey, I have an idea. How about you show up to, Oak Brook's not on there.
Yeah, they haven't.
Yeah, there are
Maybe have-
That's real time.
where there's no one attending.
Okay.
There's groups where there's no representatives yet at all, and that's what he's working
Oak
on.
Brook kind of went
I
sideways
thought you said that was the Dower that he was creating.
right here.
It was Oak Brook.
Oh, Dower's a
Dower's
different.
it.
Yeah, see, this used to all be one. And it really was an Oak Brook, it was North Tacoma.
Like,
See,
So none of these.
I
None
know
of these-
downtown is active.
Okay,
I'm
I know that all of these are active, but none of these are here, is what you're saying.
yeah, what I'm saying is this doesn't really represent this if it's been instituted.
What's so complex? Downtown. Dower. Springbrook. So it is representing, if there isn't one, it's because it hasn't been created yet, and he's trying to create
yeah,
them.
he said that.
I'm catching up.
Yeah. So East Lake, and this is what he's still.
Working with those.
Doesn't-
things to try to create-
So those are the ones he's still working. I'm trying to get outreach.
Mark, did you hear that the three that aren't listed, that's what Chris is actively working on, is putting those associations still together?
Okay, and so they are meeting when then?
Well, we don't know that because he's working on setting up those associations.
Like there isn't one to meet right now.
Like that's like.
You said
Chris's
overall
job.
difficult because there's.
Well, they actually had were pretty active and mainly over the.
Golf course.
We'll leave it at that. And, when that kind of got to the point where it was a lost cause.
Yeah.
It faded and then, one of the guys took it over and I thought it was going pretty good. And then all of a sudden he sent a message out and said, this is kind of ridiculous for us to be meeting when we go to the city council meeting. How's it gonna do that?
No one's willing to step up and take it.
And that's about the time that Chris came on shortly thereafter.
So Chris was gonna come and speak at our last meeting, and unfortunately, we didn't have a forum, so he left, so we can put him back on. The schedule, we'll try for the June 4th meeting to get an update on where he is on those three. But any of these that have been set up a time, has anybody on this committee attended any of these?
No, I used to go all the old, north ones and I haven't, and James and I are supposed to go to Tillamook, but, we haven't gone, so.
I did attend the downtown neighborhood association when it, like their very first meeting and then their second one. And we just did an introduction of ourselves. John, the city manager, and Jason were there in the same meeting, so it was kind of, I think it was just for an introduction, but really like our role is to be the bridge between the community and the council members. And so I really just got to sit back and watch and, you know, say what my role was. What they're looking for in the downtown neighborhood association is not only the homeowners that live in that general area, but also small business leaders. That's who we're trying to recruit right now to be part of that neighborhood association. So it's just starting up, so I don't really have a lot of information. I'm just glad to see there's probably about 10 to 15 people in the room at the library, so it shows that there is interest and participation, so we'll see how it plays out. I would say if anybody who has the time and could check out another neighborhood association, I think that would be really great. It would just give us more feedback when we talk to the city council at our next report.
The Lake City one seems to be really active. They have a good group, if anyone.
And I think the Lake City, oh yeah, the Lake City one, I hear that's really good at the fire station. I've not been there yet. That would be a good one if someone can go. Oh, the next one's in May for Lake City. Okay. No.
So if we go to these neighborhood association meetings, are we bringing back reports from those?
Yeah, and really, what I did is I just introduced myself as a representative of the Public Safety Advisory Committee. And then I just shared that really my role is to be the bridge between what concerns you have and the town council. And they were just really receptive to that. I think talked about a lot more concerns. Again, I didn't have to take anything back to city council because John and Jason were in that meeting. But in fact, I had the gentleman who I guess, as the leader or the president. That's something that this neighborhood association at the first meeting seemed to get hung on was titles, like who's the president? Well, that, you know, that was a little interesting, but, he actually came in and visited me at my place of business to learn more about what public safety was. And so that was kind of a nice little dialogue and, interview that they were interested in what and who we were. So that was good. Which makes me want to show up more for them, right, and be visible. So I would highly recommend it if anybody has the time to do it. Okay, open discussion on public safety. Anybody got anything?
Couple questions.
Okay.
Why is LASA in the Dower Elementary packet?
Because I think that's where the meeting's gonna be held.
Um,
And, I'm actually gonna follow up with that. I serve on that board, so I'll find out what's going on.
and the neighborhood connections to say when this 5:30 to 7 p.m. is.
Yeah. Those are great questions when Chris comes in, June.
Okay. I guess that anchors me to be here.
Yeah, please be here, so we have a quorum.
That's the way you control attendance. Good job.
Okay. Any other,
I didn't feel there was an ending to whether I should reach out to Caulfield before he retires. Or before he practices to retire.
did you tell me that you guys were friends?
Is that an asset or? He'll smile right away and walk in.
Okay.
I move we adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second to adjourn?
Second. I
Okay,
don't know.
perfect, thank you. Well, all eyes.
I feel, how do you say it? I always say it.
Okay.
But you do have to have a vote.
Okay, is everybody?
All in favor, say aye.
There we go. Thank you.
Any opposed?
I need to like write that down so I remember it. All right. And then it is- All right, James. Everybody wave at James. Say goodbye.
Hi, James.
Thank you.
I'll see you. I went to audio, so I am alive.
Oh, we can't hear you. Hold on. I don't know how to turn that.
I said I was alive, so I'm here. Okay, so it's over? You're saying?
I can't hear you.
A lot of course, we can share one of those phones up.
Yeah.
Another meeting.
Uncle John. We used to have traffic fatalities all the time. I started.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I've been able to hear the entire thing. It's muddled, but I can hear it.
I don't know why this isn't working. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? My audio's on.
You want to type it? And I can read it? Right. Over there. Trying to say I heard the meeting on.
I didn't mind anything.
Yeah, 4 years, probably.
Hi. Oh, red dots.
Maybe
Something else that I hadn't thought about for a while.
I used to.
Early on, I went on a couple of.
Financial services.
I was like, used for driving around the neighborhood and drawing jobs. I
was that good.
So I decided.
07,
In fact, you know,
63 chiefs and mortgages and all that. I like a lot of things I still. Were you really that?
Can you hear me, Joanna?
But
You know, people knew they needed.
Subsequent to that, I was
See that?
reserve officer in LA and Pittsburgh. They
Do it now?
It was the Proposition 13.
Time value of money.
That is, the state wanted to do a big proposition that had a lot of property tax money. And voters
Yes.
didn't know.
Did he say?
We're adjourned, so I told him unfortunately. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, thank you, Vivian. Thank you, sorry.
I was trained and willing to give up on, and I'm being older now, 3 times. I would actually go to testify if I had to be on a patrol unit.